Yo, yo, peace, peace. Bargani, Islam, Salam, Hetepu, Rahubat, Jino Lako Ninani, Chief Noble Bandele El Amin, back again for another video. In today's video, we will be discussing how you can work and without a social security number. Okay, how you can work without a social security number. So that should be an interesting show, interesting video for sure. Okay. So before we get into any of that though, please check out my books on Amazon.com. Everything from Moorish treaties to the blank journal notebook, African style. So, but check out all my books on Amazon.com, and please check out the website indigenousservices.webs.com, which is your one-stop shop for your indigenous needs. So, with all that being said, let's get into this video. This video is going to be dealing with how to work without a social security number. Okay? For a lot of the brothers who are Moorish or religious, because a lot of people don't use a social security number for religious purposes. Now, what's messed up though is the Supreme Court, or the district courts, I should say, the district courts have ruled that it is that religious exemption for social security numbers at a job is necessary. Supreme Court, or the courts have ruled that it is necessary, and that you do have to give your social security number regardless of your religious exemption. Okay, so with that being said, that is a big argument, and it'll be kind of difficult for you to just solely land on that. Now, don't get me wrong, we always stand on our religious ground, but you're going to need something else to go along with that. Okay, and so this is what it is. When you are an independent contractor, does not need a social security number to work. So let's say you're trying to get a job somewhere. I mean, now, let's say you was trying to get a job at a retail store. Okay, let's say like a local, like a Walmart or a Best Buy or something like that. Your approach would be to come in as an independent contractor. Okay, and this is what I say that, and this is what we're gonna look at right here. This is from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Okay, and it's the Office of Child Support. But they give a article where it discusses what's the difference between an independent contractor and an employee. Okay, because there is a difference. It says a business may pay an independent contractor and an employee for the same or similar work, but there are important legal differences between the two. For the employee, the company withhold income tax, Social Security, and Medicare from wages paid. For the independent contractor, the company does not withhold taxes. Employment and labor laws also do not apply to independent contractors. Okay? So you have to change your outlook and how you go about it. Matter of fact, it's like even when you have your resume, on your resume, it would say independent contractor. Okay, that's what you have to label yourself. because we all understand that it's all how you are labeled in law when you're doing like if you're working, there's certain labels that you will come under. You can come under an independent contractor, an employee, or voluntary. You could be like a volunteer. Okay, those are forms of working. Okay, so you can't, so we have to look at this in a more multidimensional way of even looking at how you label yourself as a worker. Because if you label yourself as an employee, then you are subject to certain laws and certain taxes. See, when you're in like 99.9 of us go in as an employee. So all of us then have withholding income tax. They do income tax. They got Social Security to take out on you, Medicare, FICA, all that stuff. They're saying here, as an independent contractor who does the same or similar work, don't have to do that. All right, now let me go on. Let's keep on. Okay, it says to determine whether a person is an employee or an independent contractor, the company weighs factors to identify the degree of control it has in the relationship with the person. Okay, so there's a determination factor. Does the company control or have the right to control what the worker does and how the worker does the job? Does the company control the business aspect of the worker's job? These include arrangements like how it's paid, whether expenses are reimbursed, or who provides tools and supplies. Okay, so depending on, certain factors, okay, we're going to get into this one, though. Now, the other two, the one that says these include arrangements like how the worker is paid, we're going to revisit that in a little bit. Okay, then it says, now this is the one. Is there a written contract or employee benefits such as pension plan, insurance, or vacation pay? Okay. Now, what becomes important as an independent contractor? A contract meaning that he's independent. He does his own independent contracts. Okay. You do your independent contract. As an employee, you go in there signing basically a standardized contract that's prepared by the employee. I mean, the employer. So it's like if you go in there and you work in a Best Buy, you basically sign like, hey, you got to follow our rules and regulations and our everything that we got going on in here. You got to follow that. You're signing off on a contract saying that we employ you and you'll do what we tell you to do under this contract. That's basically what you're doing. Independent contract, you got more say so. So it's like, if I'm contracting with you, we might stipulate different things than we would with an employee. So, we might stipulate that I get certain days off that I may not have gotten under the benefit of being a contractor. I mean, being an employee. So what I'm saying is, if I contract independently, if I contract independent, and I say I need January 1st through 7th or 7th through 14th off every year, same time, and that I won't work on these days. That's the contract between the independent contractor and the business. And it wouldn't be the same for employees. I understand, people understand this, but I'm just trying to make this clear that if there's a written contract or employee benefits, right, such as pension plans. So these things will be written in the contract separate. Like, would they get any kind of benefit from us? Like, will we also offer them any pension, or will we, all that? Because when you start getting into like insurance, pension plans, and vacation pay, that sounds more like an employee, right? But if you contracting and just saying that you work this and you get these days off and yada yada yada, you're under your own contract. And like I said, you definitely can negotiate different terms and conditions as a independent contractor. You know, it's very hard a lot of times for you to make a lot of deals at a lot of jobs. They usually offer you something. A lot of times they offer you what they have and then you accept it. Now, I do understand there are jobs that you can negotiate like salary and this and that, but you know, I think you're just a little bit more limited as an employee than you would be independent contractor. Okay, so it says, will the relationship continue, and is the work a key aspect of the business? Okay, so all these things are done. Let's look at this real quick. It says employee laws covered by, this is employee, covered by a number of federal and state employment and labor laws. Okay, contractor, not covered by employment or labor law. Hiring practice, a potential employee completes an application. Okay, standardized thing, and it's handed to human resources. Okay, the approved applicant receives a job offer. After a person accepts the position, the employer must ask for additional information about such as date of birth, marital status, and citizenship status. You hear all that? And the employee has to be obligated to give all that. A potential contractor normally interacts with the person or department that wants a certain service or task completed. A potential contractor might complete a proposal. A contractor enters into a what? Contract, including a statement of work with the legal or procurement section of the business. So it's totally different. Okay, that's heavy. That's heavy. Tax documents, social security number for employee, tax filing status, and number of exemptions. This, look, independent contractor provides name, address, tax identification number. Understand, a social security number is a form of a tax identification number. It is not the only tax identification number. Okay, it's a T. So when you see the word TIN, a TIN number is just a tax identification number. It could be a social security number. It can be an employee identification number, which we'll get into, and it can be an ITIN. Okay, so just remember, there's more than one form of a tax ID number. Okay, it said it reports all money to the employee during the tax year. This one says reports payment of $600 or more in a calendar year on a what? 1099, right? So y'all know, a lot of y'all understand 1099. It took me a while to understand 1099, but I have a way different understanding of 1099 now. I have a different overstanding, understanding, all that. Okay. Now it says reports to state and federal unemployment insurance. So, you know, this is one thing. You get unemployment, you can collect unemployment because you get insured through them. This one has none. It says earns either an hourly rate or a salary. Now, this one says a contract can be the total amount. It could be hourly, daily, or weekly amounts that end up in a specific date or a total amount to be paid when a job is completed. So it has various different ways. You can, you don't necessarily get paid the same way. You could often, like I say, it's all in your contract. Your contract will specify how you're going to get paid. Okay. It says an employee pay period must remain the same unless formally changed. Pay periods vary from a week to 1 month Federal and state require that employee be paid on a normal pay date or earlier if the paycheck is not negotiable, okay, on a normal pay date, which can occur on holidays, okay? So now it's saying over here, amounts payable pays a contractor after receiving what? An invoice. The terms of the contract or statement of work dictate when payments are made, such as the completion of a task or by periodic amounts. Contractors are not paid by, listen, contractors are not paid by payroll staff in most businesses. Okay? So think about that as well. Think about that as well. So you are giving out invoices. You can create an invoice. I mean, like, even if you're independent contractor, you get an EIN, and you can do an invoice on different Square. Square is a place you can do invoices. PayPal, you can do an invoice on PayPal. You can do invoice. You can create an invoice. Okay, so it's not very difficult for you to like find an invoice and create that for accounts payable or for the actual person that you're paying. Because like they said, they don't even payroll don't even handle that. Okay, so that's important. So that is very important that what we learn about the difference between those two. Okay, so we talked about EIN or tax identification numbers. So what you do, instead of using the social security number, you get an EIN. Because if you're contracted, then what you're doing is you're creating a sole proprietorship. Okay, a sole proprietorship is considered like a human or a person. It could be a person in a sense. It's like it's a form, but it can do business. A sole proprietor is another term or a status that you can come under. Now, as we get further into this, you may not even deal with sole proprietorship. Like, you would be outside of the whole genre. But I'm saying for basic purposes, as you are coming out this matrix, right? One easy way to stop using your social security number, okay, is for you to get an EIN number. Okay. EIN number is not the same. Now, look, we're going to look at an EIN number just real quick. This is, like, say, 9 benefits of getting an EIN, even if you don't have to, okay? Even if you don't have to. Now, look at this. For some businesses, an EIN is a tax requirement, but there are benefits to having one regardless. Look, an employee identification number is also known as an EIN or a business tax ID. It's a unique nine-digit number, just like your social, that you use when filing taxes for your business. An EIN also helps you register a business entity, obtain business loans, open a business bank account, and much more. An EIN is important for your company as a social security number. It's in your personal life. Do you understand that? So what I'm saying is, we all understand that have a social security number and all that is really a tax ID number. It's really taking you back into, commercial law. Okay, commercial law. We know this. So, this whole social security number is just a straw man. It's just some kind of commercial entity that they created. So another form of a commercial entity is the EIN. It's the business side of that. Okay, it's the legitimate business side. So if you are a contractor, you create a business so you can contract through your business. Okay, so that's how you would start out. You would just create your own straw. Okay, like, I like to call it your straw more. Like, I've talked about this on other videos, but let's just say you got an EIN and you got it in your Moorish name, or something like a Moorish name, or just another name that you use as a so-called alias. or whatnot, or whatever. You create a business and get an EIN for that name as a business entity. So then you doing business in that name, and you can, you know, be a contractor with no problem. Okay, it says for some businesses, an EIN is a tax requirement. Getting an EIN is optional for other businesses, but there's good reason to get one anyway. Okay, in fact, there are some distinct advantages to gain by applying for EIN when an EIN is and isn't required. Many people associate EINs with big corporations, but that's not. It says a freelancer or an owner of a very small business might need one to file taxes and for other purposes. If you do not need a business tax ID, the best practice is to get one as soon as you open a business as part of your business launch checklist. So it's saying a freelancer. A freelancer is somebody basically like an independent contractor. Okay. So an independent contractor would do it. Okay. Now it says that the following types of businesses must get an EIN. Any business entity with employees, including sole proprietors. Okay. And it says even if you file for bankruptcy. Interesting. Okay. It says most likely don't need an EIN, right? If you don't need that. But what we're saying is if you are going to be an independent contractor, it's important to get an EIN. Okay? It says, generally speaking, having an EIN helps you separate your personal finance and personal life from your business. Now, this is what is interesting. When you look at it from this angle, getting the EIN will separate you from your social security number. That's what you can look at it like. It can separate you from your other straw. Okay. That's what's important. Now, file business taxes and avoid tax penalties. So you might need it, like you say, if you're an independent contractor and you're trying to work for somebody, you're going to need to file. You're going to have to use your EIN when you use your 1099. When you get the 1099 form, you're going to use that EIN because you can use an EIN on a 1099. Prevent identity theft. Another reason. You might be surprised to learn that getting EIN is an effective way to help prevent identity theft. An EIN separates, like we said, your personal finances from your business. So basically, it separates separates you from your straw man. Okay. Once you have an EIN, you don't have to provide your. Listen, look. Once you have an EIN, you don't have to provide your personal social security number to clients. Look, or vendors who you do business with. Okay, so what do you mean? When you do business with them, when you contract with them, okay, instead you provide them with your EIN. So look what they say. Getting the EIN means you keep your social security number more private. Okay. Add credibility as a freelancer and independent contractor. Okay, that's what I'm saying. For independent freelancers and independent contractors, losing even one client may be a big difference. Yada yada yada. It says when you take on a client, you'll have to provide either a social security number or EIN so that they can furnish you a 1099 tax form. I'm not playing with y'all out here, okay? Having an EIN adds more credibility. Do you understand me? Y'all, stop using your social security numbers. Period. All right? So now check it out. We're going to move on to this. I don't want to go through all this. But you get my gif, okay? So it says, what is I was gonna say, what is a 1099 job? Okay, I did want to look at that. Now, I kind of think we went over this a little bit, but it's just saying that a 1099 job is is a job. Look, it's a 1099 is a job. Ooh, I think I went my kind of freezing up a little bit. Okay, so here we go. 1099 job is a job that is performed by a self-employed contractor or business owner. Okay, as opposed to an employee hired by a business or self-employed contractor. 1099 form is the IRS form that you fill out for a person doing work. It donates how much money was paid for your services. You are not responsible for deducting taxes or paying into Social Security, Medicaid, or mandatory deductions. You are just required to send a 1099 in to the IRS. Okay? So, qualifications. They got strict enforced guidelines about qualify as 1099 or self-employed worker. If your company has the right to control how the worker performs his job. Okay, so kind of the same stuff we talked about. Okay, but it talks about the contract. Let's see, taxes, Social Security, Medicaid are the responsibility of the independent contractor. Okay, so if you won't be bothered by the employee for doing that. If the IRS determines you treated an employee as a 1099 contractor, you will be responsible for paying all of that employee tax, Social Security number, and Medicare payment. So, like the employee does not want to get caught up in that, right? So they want to make sure everything is on the up and up, and that's why it's really important for you to have the EIN and have a business so that it can be totally separate from you, and that helps for the IRS to determine that separation between being an employee and a contractor. Okay, so getting the EIN, right? Why is it important to get an EIN? You do not need, you don't need a Social Security number to get an EIN. Okay, now this is from a blog. I had to search. They're like, how you look up certain stream, like, and they find certain blogs that have people talking about stuff. Okay, so on here, this guy, he break it down. I mean, like, what are you saying? He just gives you the myths. First of all, EIN don't cost any money, so you can go get it. You can get a free EIN from the IRS. Okay, you don't need to be a citizen or a U.S. resident. Okay, so for all of us that are Moors and, like I said, religious purposes, you don't need to be a U.S. citizen. So having an EIN doesn't really determine your citizenship status. You don't have to be an American to get one. You don't have to be a U.S. citizen. The third one is the third myth, you need a Social Security number to get an EIN. This is false. You do not need an SSN to get an EIN. You only need one, listen, if you apply online. If you apply for an EIN online, then you will have to give a Social Security number because it won't let you finish the application. Okay. You need an ITIN. You don't even need an ITIN to get an EIN. Okay. You do not need an individual tax identification number. You don't need a third party to get one. You don't need an attorney. It says you can get one online. This is false. You cannot get an EIN online unless you have an SSN. So if you don't want to use an SSN to get the EIN, or you don't have an SSN, then you have to do it. You have to do it on the phone or correspondence. They say by sending a form by mail or fax. Okay, so you do it old school. You need to call the IRS to get the EIN. While yes, the IRS does have the international EIN department as a foreigner who has formed a U.S. LLC, you cannot call this number to get an EIN. This phone number is used for companies that were formed outside the U.S., not companies formed inside the U.S. So if you lived and you created this, you got an EIN number and all this. I mean, I think it's EIN, but if you got let's say you form a DBA or an LLC or something of that nature within your state, then you would get an EIN. If you form like a foreign company, then you would go through the international EIN department. Okay? Now it says you need a U.S. address to get an EIN. That's false. You do not need a U.S. office address or a U.S. mailing address to get an EIN. The IRS just needs a mailing address. Okay? It can be a U.S. address or it can be a non-U.S. address. Okay? Now it says if you want to open a bank account, a U.S. bank account for LLC, it look better that you got an EIN letter shows a U.S. address. Okay? But you do not need a U.S. address to get it. So what I'm saying is you don't have to be a citizen or any of that to get an EIN. Where when you get a social security number, you have to be a U.S. citizen. That puts you in a certain status place. Okay? We all understand that. So just check it out. So that's really basically all I got for you on this today. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like what I've been saying. All right? Until next time, Tutu Anana. Peace.